The Gallagher Shots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody and welcome back to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel and podcast, and we are here with another therapy session as we talk about Alexander Isak once again. I am your host Kris, joined by Matty, and I feel as if I have done more podcasts on Alexander Isak than what I have done in the last 10 years of Newcastle United. This is getting beyond a joke, Matty, but what we're going to do on this one, we are going to go through everything which has happened in the last week or so, 2 weeks. God knows how long it is, because it's just never ending at this point. We're going to take people back just to clarify the situation as to what we're led to believe. I think we need to throw a caveat straight away, Matty, to say that we don't 100% know the facts. All that we can go off is what the media are dropping in there and making assumptions from our point of view. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm sure when the dust is settled, we'll find out exactly what has gone on, and we'll either hear from Isak, Eddie Howe, the club, but that's all to come. Of course it is. And it can go many different ways, which I'm sure I will cover as well. So first of all, Matty, Alexander Isak arrives back at Newcastle United. He arrives on Tyneside as part of pre-season, just like the rest of the lads did. And they soon jet off to Austria to go on it was more of a team building sort of exercise, this one. And after that's all done and dusted, they come back and ready for the first game of pre-season, which was Celtic. The lads land in Glasgow, and the decision is made by Eddie Howe, we are led to believe, that Alexander Isak had been, what's the word to use? Because I don't want to say heads turned at this point.
He'd been affected by all the speculation. Right. And he said that he knew that he wasn't going to play. Eddie Howe knew that he wasn't going to play. And
thought managing minutes.
Yeah, we were going to manage his minutes. Same with Joe Linton. Joe Linton didn't play that game. But he just said, we're looking at managing minutes. But at the same time, the news breaks just before the Celtic game. Liverpool are going to be coming in big for Alexander Isak. I think that's when the storm around the power play, if you want to call it, with Ekatike as well. We're looking to sign Ekatike. Liverpool are basically saying, we'll sign him if you don't give us Isak, and if you give us Isak, we'll let you sign Ekatike. That starts a media shitstorm. Twitter goes wild, and then Eddie Howe says, look, I'm going to send him home. It was my decision to send him home to Newcastle because it wouldn't have looked good him having to sit on the bench when all the speculation was flying around.
Which it caused a little bit of a divide straight away, that didn't it, in regards to which side of the fence that you wanted to land on?
I certainly was scratching my head because, again, we're led to believe, and obviously I'm not saying this is not nigh on factual, they are a tight-knit bunch. They all have each other's backs. They're all friends. They're a really good group of players. So not having Alexander Isak there just from a sort of emotional standpoint, a team player standpoint. I remember seeing Joe Linton stood on the sideline at one point when they were, at half time, I talked to the players and stuff. So to not have him there, just because the cameras might be on him, I did find that a little bit strange. However, you could make a good point as to maybe his head was gone, and we'll get further down the line. But there was particular comments from Bruno who mentioned, I'm still talking to him and he's not been in a really good place. So we don't know the real.
I think you could look at it in two different ways, and maybe Eddie Howe made the right decision. Maybe that side of the fence by just taking away from the whole media side of things. Okay, which I think I argued that may have been more beneficial if it was like a game on Sky Sports or something like that. But the fact that it was showcased on Celtic TV, yes, you're not going to get a camera stuck in your face constantly. It's not the same sort of production that you're going to get in front of the Sky cameras and things like that. But then again, you could also look at it and say, well, maybe Eddie didn't want Isak to be around. If there had been some sort of conversations, and we'll get onto the fallout about contracts soon, if there had been some sort of fallout, maybe Eddie didn't want him around the rest of the players, and that's been a decision as well. Maybe what's the phrase, Matty, in regards to a bad apple?
It's they don't taste very nice.
That's the one. We'll stick with that.
Yeah. You know about the thing about bad apples? You can't make cider out of them. You know what I mean?
Or get them from Sweden. Well, maybe you can.
Well,
but he goes back. Then we kind of just put it to one side, Matty, and we think, right, we'll see how it pans out, because Eddie was asked about it afterwards, and he said that he's confident that Alexander Isak will be a Newcastle United player, and he was also confident that he would be with the rest of the team as the lads went off for their further pre-season in Asia. A couple of days later, we find out that he allegedly has a thigh injury, which is going to prevent him from traveling with the rest of the team. Then, this is where we start the dance, Matty. We know the routine. We know what comes next. It was a tagline for the club. The players are getting interviewed when they arrive in Asia as well, and all the players are saying exactly the same thing. And I think it was probably quite unfair to ask the players these sort of questions. It's not the players' responsibility, especially put them in front of Arsenal fans' TV as well at one point. But you're acting as if you've not seen that. Did you see that Arsenal fans' TV?
I didn't know it was a thing, and I'm glad I didn't know it was a thing. So
Arsenal fans' TV were they at the airport interviewing the players. Random, I know. But like I said, it was the injury that we were led to believe. Then I think it was only probably a day later, Matty, we hear that it's Isak that's made the decision himself not to travel. Where once again you're thinking we're splitting to two sides of the fence once again. Which side were you on at that point?
Oh, I think once, well, it wasn't exactly who made the decision. It was more the motivations behind said decision to keep him at home. The injury line came out, but you didn't have to be, Hercule Poirot for the Agatha Christie fans out there. You didn't have to be a big detective to realize that this is dodgy, because I looked straight away at that traveling squad, and as soon as I saw Lewis Hall was on that plane, I thought this stinks. This absolutely stinks, because obviously just rewind a little bit back when there was them pictures going around of him training alone at the training ground. Yeah. I think it was Liam Kennedy tried to rebuff it a little bit, said that he's been for a scan. It looks okay, his thigh. However, in that picture that you've saw, he's actually training with Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall's there with him as well, and they're just getting put through their paces on the side of the training pitch, which at that time actually did put a bit of wind in my sails, and I thought, okay, but let's just see if he's on that plane. And when he wasn't, and Lewis Hall was, that's when it really, like I said, the situations really started to stink of something is afoot. And I don't know whether it was Isak's decision, Howe's decision, or both of them have went, okay, well, there's no point in you coming, but you sort of lean towards maybe Alexander Isak said, I'm not coming.
I'm gonna just quickly just put everything together, and we'll have a discussion as to what happens next with Isak and our opinion in regards to what's happening right now. The lads are still away there in Asia. They've got a game coming up on Sunday, I believe it is, against Spurs. The next one, for fine well, Eddie's going to be asked a hell of a lot of questions, and all going to be in relation to Isak. We found out, well, it was rumored yesterday, but we've had the official news from Sky Sports today that says Alexander Isak is now at his former club at Real Sociedad, training by himself with his very own representatives and training and fitness team, whatever that may be. And apparently this isn't news. Apparently he's always had this, and the clubs have always been happy with him doing that outside of his work from Newcastle as well, which I don't have an issue with. But the fact that he's now over at his former club, training by himself, apparently they're away on their pre-season, and basically he's using the facilities when nobody else is there. What's your thoughts on that? Because I think I'm not convinced. I don't think I'm either side on this one. I think I'm quite neutral. I'm not fuming that he's over there in Spain. I kind of understand the reasons behind it. But having said that, I'm still annoyed that he's not away with the rest of the lads, and he would be able to do, if he is injured, his own sort of fitness thing over there with the Newcastle staff.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm similar to you, sort of echo your point. Like personally, as a Newcastle fan, I've sort of it hasn't totally like led me into hyperbole like it has with a lot of people. I've seen, he's a snake, he's this, that, the other. Look, he's not went about this the right way whatsoever. However, what's awful about the situation in terms of us trying to make ourselves feel better, it's football now. This is the players have all the power. We look at Johan Vista. We are desperate for him to come to Newcastle. At least I am. I know you've seen it as a good sign as well. And he's basically just done the same thing today. He's went to the training ground and left straight away because he's in a mood with the club. And I know there's been promises made, similar with Isak, but this is how players have the power now. Now, yeah, Isak hasn't went about this the right way, but when I saw the article this morning or the news break and that he's over in Spain training, still the line is still rehabbing that thigh injury. It didn't push me either way. Now he's went about it the wrong way, but I sort of started seeing reasons as to why he might do it. We'll have to see if Eddie comes out and says, I've known about this. Yes, we gave Alex clearance to go over there. People have said, oh, look, he can get on a plane now. Why can't he? Look, he'll have got a private jet from wherever in the UK over to Spain, San Sebastian, which is 3 hours compared to a 12-hour flight over to Singapore. It's a bit different to time, in terms of the toll it takes on your body. And how, the idiosyncrasies of sports science. Again, people are going to think I'm clutching at straws. This is not to sort of fan the flames for me to think Alexander Isak's staying, far from it. But I'm just trying to see a little bit of a logical sense as to why he would go over there. Like you said, he's got his own team there. He's going to facilities that he's familiar with. But I think the main point is, if he was going into Benton, the training ground, if he was going in there every day, there'd be cameras outside every day, filming the train, everyone trying to get a word with him. It'd be a nightmare. It'd be a, paparazzi nightmare. So I think the fact he's went over there, maybe we don't know how long he's staying for. I think right now there's a few variables that we don't know about. And like I said, it's just not sent me off a cliff going mental at Alexander Isak. I think there's some logical reasons why he would go over there to Spain to train with a club that he's familiar with in warmer weather than it is over in Newcastle. Look, he's allegedly, and I am saying allegedly very heavily, he's allegedly still rehabbing this thigh injury. That's apparently not very serious at all. But at least if he's doing cardio over there, it's much warmer weather, so he's getting a little bit more conditioning. So again, I'm not saying that there's any reasons as to why Alexander Isak is staying in this whole thing. I'm just saying it sort of makes sense a little bit more to me why this is happening, and it's not making me go crazy like it has for a lot of people. However, overall, still not a good look. Still leads to more questions than gives answers. And yeah, we'll have to see what Eddie Howe says about it, because surely that's going to be one of the first questions he gets asked about. Is did you know he was going to go over to Spain away from the training facility?
It's 100% going to be the first question, Matty. And do you think? Do you know what is that? You never really see a club come out and comment on individual player situations as the whole saga is running out. And I'd be very, very surprised to see the club do something like that. And they're probably just waiting for Eddie to be put in front of a camera, have a microphone in his face, then let him deal with how he wants to deal with it at that point. Is there a world that we could be in now where, to stop all of this, the club can come out and be like, right, we know he's there, we've given permission there, this is the reason why he's there? Is that ever going to happen, or would you be as shocked as me to see that?
I can't see that happening. I think the lack of communication up to this point probably speaks to that. I don't think they're going to start now. I think that we're not going to hear anything from the club definitively until we know what's happening. And I don't think we'll know what's happening until we start realizing who we can and can't get in definitively before the end of the window. Not to jump ahead, to like sort of talk about what's going to happen this window with Alexander Isak, but I just can't see the communication changing anytime soon, which is a shame, because usually when things happen at football clubs, it's one of my sort of cringe points when people go, "Oh, the club should be talking to us," and all this stuff. And look, in an ideal world, they would, but it's just not how football works, is it? They're not. Owners aren't very open and honest when things are going really bad at the club or something crazy is happening in the tabloids. But yeah, I just don't see that happening, Kris. I don't see them telling us, unless Eddie Howe tells it to the media. I don't see there being an official statement from the club about Alexander Isak's trip to Spain.
I think it's probably best we'll throw in there now that we're both in full agreement here that the way it's been handled, whether you want to blame the club, if you want to blame Alexander Isak, if you just want to put blame on both of them, I think there's probably a middle ground in there where both sides are to blame on this one. But I think the way that Isak has gone about this, and let's be honest, this is a player, even if he has been promised a new deal, a bit of a bumper package and a pay increase, which is what we are led to believe, and the club have gone back on their word to a certain extent. Whether or not that was Paul Mitchell that was given those promises or somebody else. Let's remember here, Matty, this is a player that is currently on £120,000 a week. And as far as we're led to believe, reading between the lines, he's just down tools to a certain extent, and he can't be asked to be a part of this football club anymore. And I think that's what's frustrating me. And once again, like we said at the very start of this one, we don't know the facts. So I could be sat here and slagging Isak off, and the club are to blame on this one. But like I said earlier on, I think we all know this dance. We're seeing these footprints in the sand many times before, Matty, where when a player wants to leave a football club, this is what they do. And the club will never come out and really say, well, the player's refusing to train. It's very rare you'll hear that officially from the club. And we're still yet to hear it from any sort of media outlet either, saying that he's just point blank refusing. Nobody's coming out and saying that at this moment in time, as far as I'm aware. I've not read anything. It's very, they're being very savvy, the media, in regards to the stories that they're putting out. And we're fully aware that a lot of us will spend time on the likes of Twitter to get these stories from the likes of the journalists on there. And let's remember, Twitter is a platform which introduced likes of payments not so long ago. And the payments that some of these get for interactions, whether or not they're doing it as clickbait or not, they get paid a lot of money for engagement. So I don't necessarily believe everything, which I do read. But I think, I don't know. I think my personal opinion, just reading as to what I can see with my own eyes, it's not a great situation. And now I'm thinking, is there a way back for Alexander Isak? Can Eddie Howe bring him back into this team?
I definitely, in terms of what you said previously there, I think, and it's a very, it's a saying that gets said a lot, but the truth with these things usually lies somewhere in the middle. I do believe that, there was some promises made, some informal promises made to Alexander Isak. Whether or not the lack of contract talks is enough to, go on the way he has gone on, as we've been led to believe what he's gone on, you're saying it does seem like he's sort of down tools a little bit without the media saying that he has. But then you hear like Bruno's comments of again, like, he's not been in a good place. He's not, he's had some stuff going on, or however he said it. You pepper that in with the fact that, other journalists have been saying it's nothing to do with Eddie Howe. It's nothing to do with the players. He still loves them, and the love is still coming the other way. It's just these promises that have been getting made from Alexander Isak, they haven't been, fulfilled, and he's fell out with the club. But we just don't know what the balance is, and I feel like there is wrongdoing on each side. Again, I'm very upset if Paul Mitchell has just went, nah, not a chance. We're sitting down with you. You've got 4 years left on your deal. I know it makes sense from a business standpoint, but from given the sort of murmurs we're hearing about Paul Mitchell now, about the stuff he said about, obviously, he blatantly came out and had to go at the transfer policy, which again, I tried to have a bit of a measured take on, because I did say, like, look, we did need to get a 10-point deduction. And maybe he's trying to say that, look, if we were a bit more savvy, you get some players from abroad and for a little less money and be able to sell them on. But the fact he was like, overpaid for Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento, that's a lie. Like, they're both England internationals now, and if we ever sell them, they'll go for twice the price. And then I've read today that, Paul Mitchell was trying to deal with Burnley for James Trafford. It led to the people at Burnley who look after the transfers being incited, like absolutely fuming at him at some points. So he's obviously, he's a bit of a bull in the china shop, like Decker has said in the past. And, that doesn't make a player feel wanted when you're one of the best players, or if not the best player at the club. But yeah, I'm just sort of sat in the middle, whether maybe what the balance is. But Newcastle have definitely done some wrongdoing. I think Alexander Isak maybe isn't carrying himself in the best of lights. That being said, your question was, is there a chance Alexander Isak could come back at Newcastle? And 100% there's a chance. Not a 100% chance, but there is definitely a chance. my scales are still totally tipped in the favour. If any Liverpool fans are watching, I'm not delusional. I still think he's gone. I just think we need to bring players in before he can go. However, if we're led to believe what's going on with Benjamin Sesko and Visser and these other targets that we're after, it just seems that we can't get this high-profile striker in that we want. Now, would we let him go if we got a couple of Premier League experienced strikers? Let's say Visser and a Watkins, Visser and a, we're talking about Rodrigo Muniz from Fulham, even Larson from Wolves is getting mentioned today, which he's not a bad player or anything. It's a damn sight lower than what we were expecting.
It's a fall. It's a fall from a height.
Of course it is, but I just feel that Newcastle are still in a position of strength, still there, that they can turn around to Isak and go, look, we wanted to replace you with X, Y, and Z, and we just couldn't do it. You're going to have to stay for another year, mate. Sorry. And sort of use that realism of the situation to be like, we still love you. And I feel like you still love us. It's just, you've been wronged. Whether that leads to an extra contract like Coutinho, funnily enough, did at Liverpool, and he left 6 months later just for a better fee. And then secure that money a little bit. Whether that happens, I'm not too sure. There's also the dodgy, we play in Liverpool the second game of the season. That's totally crazy. But it's a World Cup year. Alexander Isak's not going to want to sit on the bench twiddling his thumbs with a pet lip on when his direct competition, Gyökeres, is playing up front for Arsenal. There's a lot of variables in this situation. And like I said, I'd like to think that the relationship with Alexander Isak and Eddie Howe, that he wouldn't disrespect the club to that extent if he had to stay and just be like, I'm not playing. I'm just not playing. And just sit on the bench, not even sit on the bench, just sit in the stands for 6 months or sit at home. I think there's a chance. I'm not saying it's a big one, but if we cannot replace Alexander Isak, and I'm not saying there's for likes out there, there's not many, but if we can't get a high profile striker in, then I do think that there's a chance to sit him down and just say, look, you're not going anywhere, and the ball's in your court about how you want to deal with this, but.
I think it all relies on Sesko, doesn't it? I think that's what's going to happen. But I think we're just now waiting for that first domino to fall, and that's when we'll see the rest of the movement happen. I think I was really confident that at the start of this transfer window, even when I first heard after the Celtic game, I thought it's fine. There's nothing. It's fine. He's will be a Newcastle player. As the days and the weeks roll by now, I'm the same as you. I'd be very, very shocked if Alexander Isak is a Newcastle player come that first game of the season. But having said that, I think if we don't get Sesko and Sesko decides to go to Man United and they manage to do a deal,
which it is sounding like. I mean, that's the press that way. That's the press sound. But again, not to sound like a bit too sort of tinfoil hatted. It really does feel like some of these journalists and some of these people who make the bigger noise and sort of lead the narrative. It always is the sort of the bigger side, with no disrespect to the club I love. Look, we've seen it. Brian Mbeumo just straight to Man United. And if it happens with Sesko, it's very disheartening, and it's very it takes the wind out your sails, and it sort of makes you feel like, what's the point? What's the point in having your best season ever if a club, yes, of the huge club like Manchester United, we're still one of the biggest in the world, who don't have European football, who finished 14th last season, they can still just be like, yeah, we're Man United, so come to us, and we go, yeah.
Which is really frustrating, Matty, because I think at the end of last season, we were all so confident that Champions League football would not put us in this position. We were all led to believe that Champions League football, that means we're going to keep our best players. We're going to keep Isak, Bruno, Tonali. Then we can bring even better players in those positions that would need upgrades as well.
With a sense of realism, I had, getting Champions League was amazing, buzzing. But I still thought, genuinely, I was saying to people, I wouldn't be surprised. Isak signs a new deal, stays another season, and then he gets.
Which I think a lot of people were under the same impression.
And I genuinely believed that, and it still could be the case for other players. But we just thought that Champions League secured, just really solidified our plans moving forward. We can bring in other players. They could be not replacements, but fill out the squad. And then if one player leaves for big money, because this day is always was always coming. It was always looming, whether it had been Bruno, whether it had been Isak, or any of the other really good players that we've managed to buy and develop. Because let's not forget, Isak came for 60 odd million quid, and there was plenty of people using that price tag as a stick to beat us with, saying he's nowhere near it worth that. I can't believe they spent that. Absolute, his record shocking, and everyone I listened to with a brain between their ears in like sort of football journalism was saying they're buying raw potential and they're just gambling on whether they can, farm that. And bloody hell, has Eddie Howe farmed that and then some. And that's what maybe sticks in my craw a little bit as well. Like, footballers, other football coaches and scouting networks aren't daft. They'll have had their eye on Alexander Isak. He played at Euros before he came to us. But, we've given him that platform and the coach has developed him into this player. Like, and I feel like
or a club record fee as well, Matty.
Yeah, it feels like a little, it would be such a shame for this story to end in a sense where a big percentage of the fan base are going to sort of hate on him and
after such a big season for him as well. Let's say this is all true, okay? And let's say we're led to believe that it is the down tool scenario. Let's say that, because that's worst case scenario win right now.
Yeah.
He's just literally ruined everything if that's the case. A season where he's been influential in getting Champions League football, scoring a goal at Wembley to get us our first cup in how many decades, and it's just all going to be wasted if that is the case. And you'd be really frustrated as a supporter. And probably looking back as a footballer, you'd be thinking, oh, fuck's sake, like, why'd I do that? Unless, obviously, he goes to Liverpool and wins X amount of things. Then he wouldn't give two flying fucks about previously. Yeah. And I think...
I feel the situation could have been so much more, feel like mutual, and if we hadn't have, shit the bed from an internal standpoint. And look, also one thing we're failing to mention is I have seen little tidbits in some articles. I think Craig Hope wrote and Keith Downey said some stuff, and like apparently his heads went a bit wobbly as well because of it's not just been this summer. Apparently it was like last season he made these
17 month or something. It was saying.
But also you've got to talk about like what has he seen this summer? Nothing. He's not seen much. We brought Alanga in, great, and I always thought them two, the Swedish connection would be class. But there's no CEO, no director of football, and apparently that there is a feeling in the camp, as much as the players are just getting on with it. That's like, what are we doing here? Why? The season?
What's happening?
Yeah, what's going on? Like stuff with Alexander Isak. We're getting not many players in. Obviously, they're not daft. They're on Twitter. They'll have seen certain things talking about us losing targets. So Craig Hope written in the piece about it's not this destination anymore, because even he argued, which is a bit of a crazy argument, but I saw where he was coming from. He argued that Newcastle was more of a draw when we were in the bottom three when we first got took over in the season after, because everyone was like, it's the project. It's the Saudi project. Look, I've just stayed up. Oh my God, what they're going to do? Oh, they've just got Champions League football. And then it's this little downturn we've had, not in perhaps form. I mean, last season was amazing. We've won a cup, we've got Champions League, but it was seen as a bit of a miracle given how thin our squad was. So we thought we're going to kick on, and I'm sure the players thought we're going to kick on. We're going to bring a few players here.
And it has highlighted how much of a circus it looks like at boardroom level as well this summer. I think if I was a player, I'd be the same as exactly what you've just said, Matt. You'd be thinking, well, what's happening? Like, what's this future? What's happened to this project, which I was led to believe was happening? Yeah. And we don't have bums on seats at the moment in these senior positions, which hopefully over the next couple of weeks that'll be rectified and changed. One of the things which we're yet to mention, Matty, is that Liverpool have been very, very savvy as to how they've approached this yet. They are still yet to put in an official bid for Isak. And now we've got a player on our hands that I'm not going to say unhappy, but is unsettled at this club because he's weighing up his options at this point. And he'll have plenty of options in front of him in regards to a new contract at Newcastle United, or his other option is going to be Liverpool, pull the fingers out, put a bid in. If a deal can be agreed, then off you go, mate. Like, there you go. You've got what you wanted in the end. Or there's another option as to where he negotiates a new contract, gets a bit of a pay packet on that one with a release clause, with all intentions that if he has another good season, then this opportunity may come around again, and it won't just be Liverpool that are interested at that point. It opens the door for foreign teams to come in.
Barcelona,
that's what I want. That's what I want.
I saw someone.
I don't want him saying for another Premier League team. No chance in hell.
I saw someone mention saying you should just be like, right, if you're gonna stay. football fans have short memories. I'm sure there'll be plenty, will feel wronged by what's gone on with Alexander Isak. So I'm not saying you're wrong if you still hold a grudge against him or anything. I'm just saying I probably won't if he scores a brace against Aston Villa in a 2-0 win on the first day of the season, which, let's face it, he might not even be fit for now because he's got this really bad thigh injury, Kris. I don't know if you've heard. It's really bad. It's preventing him from going on certain planes. Not all planes, but certain planes.
Stick with that, Matty, before I'm just going to interrupt you for a second, right? Let's say if Liverpool had put a bid in last week, Newcastle had accepted that bid. I'm telling you now, Alexander Isak will be on a flight to join Liverpool. No matter where they are in the world, he's on a flight.
Oh, he's a brand new sign. He'd be in a hyperbaric chamber on a plane, like a bad
There's
guy.
no way he hasn't gone there because of an injury. I'm not having it. Like, I'm just categorically not having it.
Look, I think we're all realistic. I know I spoke about the thigh injury at the start of the podcast, but yeah, I think we're all pretty realistic. I don't think that
I'm gonna end it on the final question for you, mate. What's the best case scenario now?
For me, I mean, I think the best case scenario is now there's so many have passed us by because it's going to be so protracted. I think Liverpool, and you see certain Liverpool fans, well, sensible ones, not the ones being baity weirdos on social media, like they're saying, well, you're going to have to accept a lower than 150 million quid because to play that once away. That's not necessarily right. I think Newcastle can see plenty of positive ways of spinning it and just be like, no, we still are going to come out of this in the best way we possibly can. Now, there's two sort of best case scenarios for me. One is somehow we get Benjamin Sesko over the line, which is looking less likely by the day, and we get Visser in. We get Visser and Sesko in, and we sell Alexander Isak for £150 million plus. Then I'll be gutted. Absolutely good to see Alexander Isak leave, especially to a Premier League rival. But it is what it is. That's football.
And is that best case scenario? Because if not, you may have an unhappy player on your hands, which is going to be difficult to manage.
The second best case scenario, actually, is he stays and signs a new contract, and they are 100% on the same page. You keep performing the way you're performing, we'll let you go next season. £120 million abroad, £150 million.
Release clause, yeah.
So if a club from abroad comes in for you, we won't make it as hard. But if it's going to be a Premier League rival, someone we're going to have to play against that season, there's going to be a tax on that 150. I know maybe that doesn't how things work in football, but we've heard crazier things in contracts. I think that would be best for both parties. It would still mean that he plays football leading up to a World Cup summer, and I think it would help mend at least a little bit of fractions in his legacy at Newcastle United. Whether he's bothered about that, Kris, we don't know. And you don't want to have these parasocial relationships with footballers that you don't actually know. All I know is that I love this group of lads. I really do. It's the best. It's my favourite Newcastle team in my lifetime now because of what they've done and how they seem with each other and the characters and all these players. The Joe Lintons of the world. I've said Joe Linton's changed my view on football in general over the last 3 years. The way he's turned around. But no, Alexander Isak, I always thought he cares about the club. That's going to come into doubt now. So if he could put that right, but we be reasonable and say, look, you can leave the summer after, then yeah, probably maybe that's a better situation. But we'd still need to invest in other areas and possibly get another striker in. So we'd need to show to him as well. You're going to have backup this season. So I think these best case scenarios are, they'd be lovely, but I just think they're going to be hard to come by. So we'll have to see what happens.
It's happening far too late, mate. I think this could have all been addressed 2 weeks ago. Like just looking back 2 weeks ago, and Newcastle are linked and put a bid in for Ekitike, and look where we are now, mate.
I was in Texas. And I saw these Ekitike rumours, and I actually said, no, that's not going to happen. He's destined to never play for Newcastle United. Ekitike, just
like Pedro.
And then slowly but surely, I just kept on saying, like, no, it could be. It's looking more like
together.
No, it's going to happen, and they're going to keep Isak as well, And I was thinking, well, hang on, that does make sense because if Ekitike is good, and we can do something with him. We can do what we've just said, and he can go in the summer. And then, the Liverpool thing happens. I'm not going to hold any real bad feeling towards Liverpool. This is football now. I'm not going to talk about top six cartels and conspiracies and all this shit. We knew these rules were going to get brought in when we got took over, and they've happened, and it's so frustrating and it's disheartening. But yeah, like what they did and the power play, as I said, the Ekatike, and the fact it's going to end up with them getting both, it just makes you go, like,
I know. Why bother?
yeah, and I want to be positive as well. I really do. And but right now, it is. You see people on Twitter and stuff saying like, it can't keep going on like this. It can't get any worse. And I just feel like quoting that Mick McCarthy from a couple of years ago. But it can get it worse. It can keep going. So some people are saying it's like it is one of the worst windows we're having because of what it's coming off the back of. It's the flip side.
It's because we're so excited going in this transfer window, Matty. That's what it was.
And not just a letdown. It's not like, oh, we bought 3 or 4 players and yeah, they're all right. We've bought one player who was very good. Well, Aaron Ramsdale's a conversation for another time. Spoiler alert, I think he's okay. Okay signing. But we've still got.
But we didn't really want okay signings, did we, Matty? That was the issue.
And we've still got another 3 or 4 that we need to sign. And the season starts in 2 weeks. And our best striker since Alan Shearer could be leaving. Like
he's in Spain.
Yeah, he's in Spain with a thigh injury that isn't real. Like it's just mental, and it's like, but it's very Newcastle, isn't it? Do you not think like it's just very Newcastle? It's like even when we're doing amazing, it gets followed with a.
If any club were going to do this, Matty, it was going to be Newcastle United. Of course, it was. This is why we love them.
Let's just see what happens, I guess. But it's not looking great. But I'm hoping, I'm just praying that in the next couple of weeks we get a couple of bit more bodies through the door, and that can always, football opinion and feeling can just change so quickly. If you got 2 or 3 good signings through the door, and even if we lose Isak, it can really change how the fan base feels. But if it comes in 2 weeks and we're playing Villa, and we've got no disrespect to Big Willie, but if he's leading the line, and don't get me wrong, the rest of that team, Osler, Gordon, Alanga, Joe Linton, Tonali, Bruno, and then that back 4. Trippier, Botman, share, well, hopefully Botman and Livramento and Pope. Like I'm looking at that team, and think, good team now, good team. It's just what sits on the bench and all that stuff. And I'm just talking about things now that we all know. So yeah. I'll leave it for you to wrap up, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Anyway,
but I'm sure something will change in the next couple of days. There'll be something else. God knows what that'll be, but there'll be something else that'll come from the club. I think, do you know what it is? I think the whole Sesko stuff as well, mate. I've got a horrible feeling this is going to drag out for another couple of weeks yet because they've got a bit more on the hands now between Newcastle and Man United. So,
well, there's a release clause there. Allegedly, there's a £70 million release clause there.
And if that's the case, just hit it and move on.
Just hit it.
I know, but we'll see what happens with that one. But once again, that's a whole different podcast, which I'm sure I will cover in the next few days as well. Like Matty said, we will be doing one on the next one through the door, which will be Ramsdale. I think the club will announce that in the next coming days as well. That's all but done. I think he was due for a medical yesterday. I think it was
yesterday. Yeah,
yesterday. So that'll be done. Is he going across to Asia to meet up with them or not?
No idea. I've heard he's got a bad thigh, so he can't get on the plane. Spain's nice.
But yeah, we'll be back with more content as well. If you have liked this video, just like the video itself, become a subscriber. It costs you nothing to do that as well, and it helps us out massively. If you do want to give an extra bit back, you can become a member. It's just $2.99 a month, Matthew. As little as $2.99 a month, and you get early access to videos.
You get $2.99 now. What can you get?
You can get membership for this. That's what you can get.
Just that.
And you get access to the Telegram group as well. The Telegram group is just full of like-minded Newcastle United fans as well, who are talking about everything that me and Matty have just addressed and more.
Yes,
so if you do become a member, go on the community page. There's a direct link to get you in the Telegram group, and we'll see you over in that chat as well. Thank you, Matthew. It's been really positive, this, and I'm so glad that we did this.
Cathartic, I think, is the word, and there's going to be, there's going to be plenty more to come. Just to get the words out there feels really nice. So thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you,
like
Kris.
I said at the very start, it's a bit of a therapy session now. I like talking about these things. Just get it off my chest, just so Warlass doesn't have to hear us just chewing at her lug all night about Alexander Isak, because she doesn't give a fuck. But we'll see you next time. What are you doing?
Bye.